You know, I'm going to give you a history lesson.
We got some dumbass motherfuckers floating around this country.
Stop laughing! And when I do, start.
Also, y'all did some nasty-ass jokes on my ass, too.
Funny jokes and unfunny jokes come out of the same birth.
You f***ing guys are unbelievable.
Why are you laughing?
Evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Why Are You Laughing? A history of comedy podcast. And today, I am pleased to introduce to you Ray Romano, an underrated legend, oddly underrated, in my opinion. It's weird to say underrated. People fight that word a lot, but I'll try to explain why. I understand it's unusual to say a man who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars and had a massive television show is underrated. But maybe underappreciated is a better term, because I feel like you don't hear Ray Romano's name mentioned in the echelon that it should be. I think particularly because Everybody Loves Raymond started towards the end of Seinfeld when Friends was already on the air, and it ended the same year as Friends. So like those sitcoms were dominating, while Ray Romano was the highest paid actor on television at the end. I think he was making like $1.8 million per episode on Everybody Loves Raymond. It's a massive success, but it's not mentioned in that same category as Seinfeld or Friends. And Seinfeld I get, because I just think Seinfeld was such a revolutionary, different thing. But if you're comparing Everybody Loves Raymond to Friends, I think the comedy in Everybody Loves Raymond is better. The characters are more grounded. I just think it's a better sitcom. And I feel like you don't hear Everybody Loves Raymond mentioned enough in that. And Ray Romano as a comic, I don't think gets his due. I'm a big Ray Romano rather. I'm an Everybody Loves Raymond fan also, but I'm a Ray Romano fan in that his career was exactly what you'd dream of, where he had this massive success and then didn't get greedy with it. He kind of did things that he wanted to do afterwards. So we'll talk about that today after I tell you about blindmike.net, where you can go for all this program's links if you want to support this show wherever you get podcasts. Video on Spotify now, of course, YouTube, and anywhere else you get podcasts. If you like, subscribe, follow, comment, all the stuff that helps more people find us in the algorithm. We appreciate you guys engaging with the show. It's a free way to support us and help spread the word. And if you want to become a member, get early access and bonus content, then you can do that on YouTube or Patreon. Become a member on either of those platforms. You get these episodes early, as well as some of the other stuff that we do. So consider checking that out. The easiest way to find those links are at blindmike.net. So I think the other part of the reason I love Everybody Loves Raymond and Ray Romano so much is that I related to that show very well. Like the tension with his family and everything, I very much related to. And it felt very real and very grounded. It wasn't this caricature of how people interact with their families. And, going through and listening to a lot of interviews with Ray, let me know that came from a very real place, as he talks about here with his daddy issues.
I always have the line, if my father hugged me once, I wouldn't have to do any of this shit. One hug.
One hug.
That's all it would have took.
Did he ever say I love you before he died?
He did not, and he listen. My father's father left him when he was 2 years old, so my father had his own thing. You know? So I don't fault him for being who he was. You know, he tried and he couldn't. But I remember towards the end when we kind of knew he was okay, but he was close to, probably in the next year we wouldn't have him with us anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember he was in the hospital here, and I was living in LA. So the times I would come in, whatever. And when I left, you never knew if I was going to see him again.
Yeah.
And I left the hospital one time, and I was going back to LA. And I go, all right, Dad, I'm going to LA. All right. And I never, had a hard time saying it to him because, we never said it to each other.
Yeah.
And I, of course, at that moment, I wanted to say it. So I said, I'm going to LA. All right. I love you, Dad. And his response was, I know you do.
Oh, my God.
So like that, the Frank Barone character and that tension with his parents, like, comes from a very real place. As you can, particularly the father, where like, I think that's the thing that drew people to that show is it never felt phony. You know what I mean? Like maybe some of the storylines you could say were over the top or whatever, but it really did not feel phony. And Ray's style is very casual style. That for me, like when people talk about Sebastian Maniscalco, I'm looking for more of what Ray Romano does. You know what I mean? If I'm watching Sebastian, I'm like, I wish this was Ray Romano, you know? So like I find him to be more relatable, and I'm sure Sebastian's more relatable for a different, you know, type of person. But like Ray's perspective to me, I was always drawn to. Even in his stand-up, which I liked his later stand-up as well, which we'll talk about. But he gets into stand-up comedy, and he starts performing under the name Jackie Roberts because he was too embarrassed to use his own name. And, you know, he had a lot of anxiety and still deals with a lot of anxiety. And Ray also broke this. There was, like, you know, with Woody Allen and then Larry David and Jackie Mason and plenty of other characters throughout comedy, there was always like this nebbishy Jewish caricature or stereotype. And what Ray kind of did was implement that in other cultures. Like he comes from this like deep-rooted Italian background and a strong Italian family, but he also had anxiety and insecurities, and that seeped through into his comedy. And I think that's why it was relatable for a lot of people. It was like, you don't necessarily have to fit this, you know, the tough guy Italian stereotype that was out there, and that played through not just in his comedy, but like in his real life. Because I think our next clip is him talking about Carson, right?
No, this is him with Carvey and Spade talking about his stand-up voice.
Oh, right. I got ahead of myself. I take it back. He wasn't always that real, as we're going to hear here. This was what he was first trying in stand-up comedy.
Quick to get kind of what you would call your voice and like the way you do stand up now, or did you work with props and puppets and stuff and then get into your thing, or was
I had a couple props.
God, when we dig down, Dana had props, I had props.
Yeah, you had a prop, right? What a puppet?
I had a little duffel bag of it was at the end of my act. It was at the end of my act, and I would do impressions. I would do the kid you always wanted to sit next to during a physics exam, and it was nerdy hat, nerdy glasses.
Interesting.
And I would turn around and do the old reveal.
Closer alert.
And did he talk?
Nope. He didn't talk.
All visual.
Okay.
All visual.
It was just visual. These are all visuals. So it was just a set for. I think there were four things. It was the kid you wanted to sit next to during a physics exam.
Boom.
It's a funny setup.
That same kid's mother. I did his mother.
Whoa. What'd she look like?
And it was just wig with cat glasses.
Same.
You know.
Okay.
You know.
So one after the other.
Yeah. And then I did with the wig and the glasses. I don't know if you guys remember. The Mets were. This was '86, so the Mets were in the World Series and the playoffs, and there was a woman who sat behind home plate who tried to distract the pitcher by doing this, rolling her hands around.
Yeah.
And she was prominent if you watch the game.
Sure, on camera.
Like this. So with the wig on and the glasses, I did that woman also.
Oh God, what a tricky
Are
laugh.
these getting equal laughs? Are these just all killing?
They're doing very well.
Yeah.
And then
He's just killing with this hack material.
Man, they don't stop talking.
Dana Carvey and David Spade are terrible interviewers. The worst people you could have gotten to do an SNL retrospective. It's god awful, but we'll try and soldier through that. You know, you're right. They really don't stop talking. But
I was like, I can't wait to hear what he actually had for props and not what they're going to guess was in his duffel bag.
It's if you're listening for the purposes of this show, it's exhausting to listen to them interrupt their guests. But it's just funny to hear Ray talk about using these props when he became like a very real guy. And I talk about how his show being rooted in reality and very relatable and stuff. But like so many comedians, while they're finding their voice, don't know what to do and do corny shit like this. And I think the nice thing about the age before the internet is that you were able to do this stuff. And the only way we know that Ray did these cornball characters is because he's telling us about it. Whereas now people would be enticed to put them on the internet. And the real danger of that is one of them might explode. You know what I mean? Like there will be, and I'm sure there already have been that I'm just not thinking of, 23-year-olds on TikTok that want to get into comedy that just become some dumb character they post that takes off. And it's like, well, now I have to be this forever. Whereas, in the 80s, you could try stupid shit like that. And maybe some of it would work. Maybe some of it did. Like, I think Ray did use an element of that in the sense that in his, I think Tonight Show set, it might have been Letterman, but I think it was the Tonight Show set that he did, where he says, I just had, I have a daughter and I just had 2 twin boys, so I haven't been able to write a lot of material, but here's the one joke I've written lately. And he takes out his keys and jingles them. So that's a decent prop joke. Yeah. But yeah, like he took a while not just to find his voice, but he quit comedy 3 times. And that's part of the anxiety that we're talking about, where he had terrible bombing incidents and it would scare him away from comedy for a year. And then he would come back and try it again. And then he got scared away for another period of time. So like it took him a while to really get started early on. I think he said he started around like 83. So when he's doing those characters, that's about 3 years into comedy. Then he finally gets rid of those and he gets all the things you're supposed to get. He was on HBO's Young Comedians special. And that's where he really first started to get recognized as a stand-up, as well as just slipping into Johnny Carson's Tonight Show. I think Johnny had already announced that he was leaving, but Ray got booked while Carson was still the host. And now this is his story of getting on Carson.
1991, you do Johnny Carson.
I do.
How true is it that you almost had a panic attack at some point?
That's very true. I was, it's 91, November 15th, and I was in the hotel with Rory, with my manager, and I was in the shower. He wasn't with me. You waited outside, right? Yeah. And I remember, because now it's getting close, and I remember not being able to feel my arm in the shower. I was like, because I'm just so consumed by I'm about to go on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I go, holy shit. I'm like, how am I going to make it? I'm still like 2 hours away from this. And then we got in the car, the limo that was taking us there to the Tonight Show, and I was on the verge of just, having a full-blown panic attack or whatever that is.
And how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm
great.
I'm numb in spots. It's surreal. I'm scared that I'm going to go up there and freeze. Heart's going fast. And we got about a block away from the hotel, and I realized I left my notes in the room. So he goes, let me go around. I go, no, let me just get out. And I get out and I ran full steam, because we were cutting it close with time, to the hotel, up, down, ran full steam back. And that kind of saved me, because whatever that did, the energy that I expelled was good enough to calm me down a little. I still don't remember the set. You're still kind of in your own world, but I didn't freeze.
What's amazing about that story is if you go watch that Ray Romano Carson set is on YouTube. If we play it, we'll get a spanking, but you can go find it on YouTube. And what's amazing about it is because of his like kind of monotone, laid back delivery, he almost seems bored to be there. He doesn't seem nervous at all. Pretty incredible hearing that story.
I can't imagine going, especially back then when people really watched those shows.
Yeah.
If you just think about the amount of people that are about to see you, it would freak anyone out.
Oh, absolutely. Particularly if you're already nervous. And Ray talks about throughout this show, which is, Everybody Loves Raymond starts in 96. So we're still before where it's kind of, maybe taboo is the wrong word, but like it's looked down on or whatever. Now, if you say, "Oh, I'm in therapy," no one bats an eye. Like in the 90s, early 2000s, it was still like, "Oh, really? What's wrong with you?" So a guy to be kind of open about being in therapy as often as he was and talk about a lot of these issues is pretty interesting. You don't think of Ray as that type of guy, but I think it because his comedy is not, hey, celebrate me for being open about mental health, like it doesn't really seep through in his comedy all that much, but there are undertones of, I'm this nervous, anxious guy who's not comfortable in his own skin. And I think a lot of people were able to relate to that. So Ray goes through, what every up and coming comedian goes through, and gets all the things, gets Carson, gets Conan, gets the HBO Young Comedians special. But he's struggling to find an audience. He's struggling to get any real jobs. And the goal back then, in the 90s, thanks to Seinfeld, Tim Allen, Roseanne, the blueprint was now, you go to Montreal, the industry sees you, and they say, "What, you're wearing a tool belt? We're going to give you a sitcom as America's dad who likes to work in the garage." So that's where like Tim Allen comes from, or Roseanne is, this white trash mother, perfect for a sitcom. So that was kind of what you had to do. We've talked about it a bunch on this show, but like, it wasn't this thing where you just explode with your stand-up. It's you have to find something else to enhance that. But I will say, listening to Ray talk, it sounds like what I love about him as a stand-up fan is a lot of these other people were like, okay, stand-up's a stepping stone to get to the next thing. Then I become a TV star. Then I become a movie star. Ray kind of always looked at it as like, how do I get a thing so people want to see my stand-up? Like he always wanted to act, but like he did always want people to come see his stand-up. And you see, like, he still performs. He does 20-minute sets at the Cellar now and has a residency in Vegas. And like he still loves doing stand-up, even though he doesn't have to do it, which I think is pretty rare of that generation of comics.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Next we have Newsradio.
His the sitcom that Joe Rogan was first discovered on, but that role was supposed to go to Ray Romano. This is Rogan talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Joe Rogan replaced Ray Romano, and he's telling that story here.
You said you just got it. How did you just
I had a development deal with NBC, and they were going to do, I was going to do my own show, but they had a sitcom that they were already greenlit, and Ray Romano was on it, and Ray was like the maintenance guy, and Ray got fired during the pilot, which is like the best thing that ever happened to him. He goes on to do the Everybody Loves Raymond, and it's fucking huge, bigger than Newsradio ever was. So like he gets fired, and another guy got hired, and then he got fired.
Yes, that part I didn't know. And apparently it was true that in the pilot episode, I guess Joe Rogan is not in. It's another actor named Greg Lee or something like that. So I didn't realize he was replaced twice. But Ray tells the story, and Ray is pretty honest about, like, there's no resentment or anything. He's like, yeah, I think I kind of sucked in that role. Like he was very honest. He said he didn't think he was good. He killed the audition, which is why he got it. But then he notices that he wasn't really doing well, and they even had to change the role for him a little. It wasn't originally supposed to be a maintenance guy, but they had to change it. And so ultimately, Ray being bad in that role was good for Joe Rogan, because Rogan wouldn't have been right for that role if they didn't have to change it for Ray Romano. So. Right. Very, very interesting. And yeah, ultimately looking back, it probably was the best thing for Ray. But at the time, it's another failure where it's like, after you get Carson, you think, oh, my career's going to explode. And that just wasn't the case anymore. At the end of Johnny's run, It wasn't the old days where if you get called over to the couch, your life changes. It wasn't really that anymore. So like he gets on HBO, and the lineups on those HBO Young Comedian specials, I think the one that Ray was on was Janine Garofalo, Andy Kindler, Judd Apatow, and I'm forgetting one other big name. But that like Ray Romano, like those became huge names in comedy. So like those Young Comedian specials did a lot for people, but Ray didn't really get anything off of that necessarily. It's where people noticed him as a stand-up, but like nothing came of it. And then we continue.
Sense of relief.
Yeah, so this is him talking about why it might have been a good thing that he got fired from Newsradio. Which Newsradio, if you're looking at it and you're Ray Romano, it's devastating to get fired, because this is a show. Phil Hartman is on it after SNL. You're like, oh, this is like a real show. You know what I mean? And
Right.
Dave Foley's a funny guy. Like the cast of that show is great. And it was a go kind of right from the start. It's odd to say that now because Newsradio was ultimately, even though it lasted 5 seasons, like kind of a failure as far as ratings go. I know a lot of people love it. And I've seen that. I think they've been uploading episodes to YouTube now. So like people still watch it and talk about it. But it was a failure as far as ratings go. But at the time, it seemed like a can't miss opportunity. But this is Ray talking about why it wasn't so bad.
I mean, I was a stand-up working in New York, and I would go on the road. I was making a living doing stand-up. It was my 11th year in stand-up. And I would get auditions. I was taking acting classes there. There was a teacher there who gave acting. She was an acting teacher, but she had a specific class just for stand-ups. So we all did it. I did it with a couple of I did Louis C.K. with the Jon Stewart, whatever, Dave Attell. And I would occasionally, guys would see me on the HBO comedian special or this special, and they would call me in. I didn't have an agent, but I would get called in to my manager. Said, hey, he saw you on this. He wants you to read for this part. I would be terrified. I would go in and read. And this was the one read where this guy, everything clicked during the audition. Yeah. And, you know, if you're an actor, you know, you can hit it out of the park in an audition sometimes. And doesn't mean you're really right for the role already. And I just wasn't. I felt it. I'm not going to say I was relieved, but when he told me, my manager told me that morning, they're going in another direction. And that's exactly what they said. It's exactly what he said. And I was like, where are they going? Oh, yeah. But there was a sense of relief. There was a sense of relief.
Yeah.
Then when Raymond came, they were smart and they got me an acting coach.
Yeah, so there doesn't seem to be any like resentment, because even with the guys that end up being successful, there is always like a chip on their shoulder and this thing of like, they fucked me over. I got screwed out of that role. Ray looks at it pretty realistically and he's like, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't right for it. And they talk about a lot on Raymond that he was not a good actor in those first couple seasons. And Ray talks about that a lot, that he was too monotone, too dry. And it's funny to look back because now I think he's a great actor, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But like, he's legitimately a very good actor now. So whatever classes they put him in worked.
He's also talking about this after Everybody Loves Raymond's success. Oh, it's probably a lot easier to be like, yeah, I don't care.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about Ray too, and he talks about this in his stand-up, but even in these interviews, I like that he's a guy that made a lot of money, and it's just like he's honest about it. He's not smug or arrogant about it, but he doesn't pretend like there's not this phoniness like, oh well, you know, we all have our struggles. Like it might have been that interview, I forget which, but someone was asking about Newsradio. And they said, oh, hey, there's a world where you'd be worth a few $100 million and have the biggest podcast in the world. And Ray goes, yeah, I think we both did all right.
Next, we have Letterman.
Yeah, so this is where Ray's life changed. And I don't know if Letterman gets enough. I don't know if the average person knows, because you see worldwide pants at the end of every episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. I don't know if people associate that with David Letterman and know that that's his production company. It's weird because I don't think Worldwide Pants created or produced a ton of amazing stuff. They produced The Late Show with David Letterman, The Late Late Show, and Everybody Loves Raymond. It's weird to have that catalog and then virtually nothing else, like these kind of small sitcoms that didn't last that long, whatever. But they have this one monster that is probably still generating them a ton of money. So Letterman deserves a lot of credit for kind of discovering Ray Romano when no one else wanted him.
But it is emotional for me. This is a big night for me, and I don't think most of the audience knows. The majority of the public doesn't know what this show has meant to me. So I just want to say real quick what happened. 20 years ago was my first spot. I did stand-up right there, and I was doing stand-up for 11 years. Had 3 little kids, struggling, not really. Nobody's offering me anything, this and that. Came here, did a spot. The following week, Worldwide Pants, Dave Letterman, your people call me up, say Dave liked what he saw. He wants to try to develop a sitcom for you, and that sitcom became Everybody Loves Raymond. Yeah.
Very kind of you.
But so, yeah. So this is.
You're flattering me here.
I'm not
unnecessarily.
What do you mean?
It's all credit is all yours, my friend.
It's all true. I'm not here if that doesn't happen.
I like Letterman all uncomfortable with compliments.
He hates them.
Stop it.
Go away.
But that is true, where that's what Carson got credit for so many years. And it's a time where Letterman sort of learned from that and said, like, he heard Ray's set and said, this guy deserves a sitcom, like, based on the way comedy was going. Like I said, where you have this model of, this 5 minutes kind of builds you an entire world of a sitcom. Letterman saw that in Ray and was like, there's this story of this dad with this young daughter and 2 twin boys and this obnoxious Italian family that he has to deal with. Like, that's interesting. It's compelling. It's relatable. There's something there. And I don't know that Letterman himself saw it all play out like that, but he saw his act and said, this guy deserves a sitcom. And they bring in Phil Rosenthal to create Everybody Loves Raymond. And the rest is really history. And that show was so big for me as a kid. I watched it, every day. It was on every day on TBS after school. I watched it all the time. It was always in reruns when I was a kid. And it was a huge thing for me. And I don't think as a child I realized how much I was relating to it from like the family perspective. But like, it's so ingrained in me that I don't know if you've noticed, I've stammered over Ray Romano's name every time I say it because I'm about to say Ray Barone every single time.
Yeah, every time.
So that's how much I appreciate this show that we're about to get into.
Yes. Next we have Everybody Loves Raymond.
Let's hear about it.
Meeting with Ray. We're just talking.
Phil Rosenthal,
and he tells me about his actual family, just in conversation. Like, if I was going to work with you, tell me about yourself, where you were born. You're from Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
So is my wife. Yeah.
Great.
From Philly. Yeah. Okay. So it's questions like that. Tell me and he tells me about, I got twin boys and an older daughter. My parents lived close by. They were always bothering me. My brother's a police sergeant and he's divorced and he lives with them. And he's always touching every bite of food to his chin before he eats it. And he's jealous of me. He saw my Cable Ace Award and he said, it never ends for Raymond. Everybody loves Raymond. I said, well, it doesn't seem like there's anything there we can use. Right. And I thought, no, Ray, that's actually a great place to start. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I don't know anything about you. You're not an actor. Okay. He would become a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to make you like, a gay astronaut from Cleveland.
Yeah.
Let's make you. And he goes, does there have to be a story? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, the sitcoms that I'm trying to emulate are The Honeymooners, All in the Family, Mary Tyler Moore, Taxi, The Odd Couple, shows that are grounded and on planet Earth.
And it really was that. Like, I think it was great at that, where so many sitcoms fall into this. They notice what the audience appreciates about a character, and then that becomes a complete caricature or almost like a superhero. Like at the end of Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson is essentially a superhero. Like, he's essentially performing magic by how like cool and like all the things he's able to accomplish.
He's MAGA man.
With how brazen he is. Yeah, exactly. And the other end of the spectrum is Michael Scott by the end of his run on The Office, was like a functionally mentally challenged human being to the point where there are scenes where you're like, this person wouldn't be able to hold a job. You know, I mean, the better example of that is Kevin on The Office, but like, but that happens in most sitcoms where it's cartoonish the way these characters go. I think what Everybody Loves Raymond was great at is they found what made each of those 5 main characters great and kind of stuck with that the entirety of the series. Like, it never felt like it was on too long. It never felt like the storylines were ridiculous. It really did feel like a realistic portrayal of family, given a somewhat absurd. I shouldn't even say that absurd. Like, the idea that you move in across the street from your family because it might be convenient for them to help out with the kids and stuff. That's not that ridiculous an idea. You know what I mean?
You are him.
Well, kind of. Don't. You wonder why I relate to this guy so much. Resentfully move near your family. Yeah. I'm like, this guy is pretty underrated, right, everyone? I appreciate how cool he is.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Blind Mike.
Well, the title is also something that Ray hated because he thought it was going to come with, like, he goes, I'm very self-deprecating and people are going to think like it's some self-aggrandizing, like, oh, Everybody Loves Raymond, excuse me. But I think even the title read very sarcastic. Like, if you watch 5 minutes of that show, you know it's done with, like, oh, Everybody Loves Raymond. Like, you watch 5 minutes of that show, the wife despises him, you know? Half the people on that show can't fucking stand Raymond. So, like, you get it pretty quickly in that show. But, I mean, there were elements, like, I think Everybody Loves Raymond is the classic show that people use as the example of, like, does this lady even like her husband? She's always mad at him. Like, I don't get it.
Constantly.
But Ray, I heard him explain that, and he's like, well, listen, there's conflict in every episode because if we're sitting on the couch laughing with each other, we don't really have television. Like, we don't have a show, you know, we're not doing anything. So there does have to be conflict in every episode, but the idea of it, like the issues that they had were always something they could relate to. And they made sure to, I heard Phil Rosenthal say that, like, they wanted to make sure that the writers always left by 6 so they could be home for dinner because that's where stories happened. Like, they needed the writers to go home and interact with their families so they could come back and be like, here's what my wife was bitching about last night.
I love it. But here they are talking about the ratings.
Yeah, so it was not a rocket ship. I didn't realize they started on Friday nights, which is almost like a death sentence.
Seriously.
You think Letterman would have more pull at CBS, but it starts on Friday nights and it struggles. So they talk about that here.
That first season, though, the ratings were lousy. Yeah. Critics liked it, but ratings weren't great. CBS stuck with it. You were at a crappy time period, Friday nights. Right. When CBS moves it to kind of the coveted Monday night time period, to what extent is that kind of do or die for you guys?
It was do or die. It was absolutely do or die. He told us it was do or die.
That being Les Moonves,
yes.
The CBS said.
Because we were on Friday nights. And we were in, like, you were being generous, 77th. We were in like 100th and something place. I used to say in my act, we got Moesha right on our ass. There was a show called Moesha, which was right behind us. But Friday was a bad night, so nobody was really watching, and the critics were giving us some love. So he was kind of torn, Les Moonves, from canceling us because he'd get some heat from the critics or whatever, and he knew he kind of had faith in the show also.
And you think it was close, though?
He told not Phil Rosenthal. He said the last 6 weeks of the first season, he said, we're going to put you on 9:30. I think it was 9:30 on Monday, 8:30 after Cosby. Cosby's second run was gone, and that was a top 10 show that year. So we're going to put you on after that. Because if you don't perform in that slot, he goes, there's pretty much nothing I can do. So the pressure was on. It was kind of there. And I think in the first week, Cosby came in like 14th place and we came in 12th. We went up a tick on the first night. And, you still don't know if are they going to come back. And they came back and we stayed on Mondays for the rest of our run. We stayed.
So Ray Romano has Bill Cosby to thank.
A lot of people do.
Well, actually, he also talks about his biggest influence is Cosby, which you can see a lot in his stand-up. Like it made perfect, and the TV show, honestly. Like
He's white Cosby.
Yeah, he's Italian Cosby.
Yeah,
but like that definitely tracks. That Cosby was a huge influence on him. And I forgot Cosby had a CBS show, but it helped Ray out tremendously, and then he ended up taking off from there, and it never slowed down. Like I said, towards the end of that run, he was making $1.8 million per episode.
That is crazy.
It's incredible, and it's also good for him that he was able to walk away from it. They got one extra season out of him. I think he said he wanted to end it after season 8. They got one more season that he agreed to do, season 9, and then he was like, I'm done. And another thing I respect about Ray and listening to all these interviews is that he's not motivated by money because he made enough. There's a lot of people that are like, all right, well, now I'm a guy who makes $1.8 million an episode. I can do some horse shit on NBC now and just make a pile of money every year. But Ray is like, no, I made my money, so now I can do essentially whatever I want. And that's what I really appreciate about his style, is that you see him pop up in a few episodes of things. Like he was in, he had a run on the show Parenthood, where it's like you would kind of expect someone of Ray Romano's status to be, the star of that show. But like he's just this like side character in these things that pop up. He did also do maybe the role he's second most known for, at least at that time, was the Ice Age franchise. He did a voice in that.
That's right. I actually completely forgot about that.
He said it was great because it's the easiest work ever. In fact, like they redo it in other languages, and he gets credit for the role, but like he doesn't have to redub it in Spanish or anything. You know what I mean? Like, so it's this completely easy work. And he said there's a scene, like he plays the woolly mammoth or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's an emotional scene where they have the woolly mammoth kind of make a face, and there's this dramatic music. So he's like, so I've been getting credit for this emotional scene that makes people tear up. I didn't even know they made it. He goes, I wasn't there. That's not me doing it. I just read the lines.
That's very funny. I completely forgot he was in those movies. Are huge,
massive. Yeah. Him, Dennis Leary, and John Leguizamo. So like Ray has the success with the show, and then walks away in 2004, and then like is able to be with his family a little more, get more back into stand-up, and takes roles that he wanted. So there's a few that I want to talk about, but which are we going to first?
Men of a Certain Age.
Yeah, so this was like really the next thing that he did after Everybody Loves Raymond, certainly the next like TV series of his. And at the time, I remember this coming out, and I was a Ray fan, but I was like, this seems like horse shit. I think the way it was branded, I don't think the title's great. And the fact that it was on TNT, I was like, oh, he's doing some corny TNT show, Rizzoli and Isles or something. I didn't really know what it was. But very critically acclaimed. And seeing some of the reviews on it and people talk about it, I was like, maybe I'm going to give Men of a Certain Age a try now, because apparently it was very underrated. And also launched Andre Braugher into comedy, which I'll talk about in a second. But this is Ray talking about that show.
It's so rare to have to get on a beloved show, but you've actually had a few. And Men of a Certain Age, I know, was your first follow-up.
Well, I don't know, beloved. We won a Peabody Award, and then a month later we were canceled. Yeah. Which kind of the Peabody Award is a little scary, because it means they like you, but nobody's watching.
But people still talk about it. to this day. I mean,
it's one of my favorite things we've done.
Yeah.
I wish we had a little more time with it. Yeah, we had look, I got to give, we were on TNT, which really, it wasn't that great a fit, but at least they put it on.
Yeah.
He's right in that it wasn't a great fit because it seemed weird. I was like, oh, a TNT show at that time. I think like 2008, you're kind of just like, I'll skip. I don't know why. I don't even know why I'm saying that. But it did feel like, it's going to be not great. You know what I mean? And that was sort of just before all these other cable networks, like 2007, Breaking Bad's on AMC. So it's like right at that time where you actually are starting to enter the golden age of television, where these really good shows could be found on other channels. But a lot of people didn't really know that yet. So it just never found its footing. But what it did do is he was talking about Andre Braugher, and that show was like a very serious, well-trained actor. And he said Andre Braugher was petrified of improving. Like they would want to do a lot of improv on that show. And Andre Braugher was like terrified, and he was like, I'm not funny. I don't know how to be funny. And he ended up being, Andre Braugher is a great character on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, that's a good show. His character is great.
Yes. I really like Dry.
Yes. Yeah. It's his character is unbelievable on that. So you have Ray Romano to thank for that. What we got of Andre Braugher on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think.
Next we have Scorsese.
Well, what I want to talk about. Let's play this first, actually, because he kind of talks about getting into more dramatic roles, and luckily Martin Scorsese cast him in something, and there's a very funny reason why.
Yes, they do remember me for that role. And it was not easy when it was over to find other roles, but little by little, it was like baby steps. I had to do one dramedy first, and then another one, and then I had to create my own show. And I got lucky. The biggest move to take me away from that, people remembering by that, was when I got on this show called Vinyl. I don't know if you guys saw Vinyl. It was a show about rock and roll in the 70s. And Scorsese, I sent a tape in to audition, and Scorsese had never seen me. This was the cool thing. He told my agent, he goes, I don't know who this guy is. He not only not that he didn't watch the show, he never even heard of me, which ended up being a blessing because he didn't have that character in his head that people had seen for 9 years, Yeah. And he cast me in that, in the show Vinyl. And then he cast me in The Irishman. So that was like the big move, for people to see me as something different, at least.
It's interesting. Like Scorsese thinks that he discovered you.
Kind of crazy. It is crazy to me. And it is kind of refreshing to know that Martin Scorsese isn't secretly watching CBS sitcoms at night. But
what is it? Relax.
It's wild that didn't cross his radar ever, Scorsese throws on a football game. You see an Everybody Loves Raymond commercial. Like he had no idea who he was. That seems impossible.
He's just constantly cutting film, like actual film together.
I guess so. Yeah, it was crazy. But it's funny to me because like the way Ray tells the story is his agent was like, oh, yeah, well, we can send him tapes of the sitcom. And they're like, no, he doesn't know what the sitcom is. Martin thinks it's like some complete unknown auditioning for the part, which, as Ray says, did work in his favor because Martin Scorsese's not thinking of it as some sitcom character. He's not like, oh, this is a TV actor or anything like that. He's just like, oh, yeah, this guy fits the role. He hasn't seen him in anything else. It's completely fresh eyes. And as Craig was saying before the show, he is great in The Irishman also.
So good.
He's very good in that. And it's cool, just like the idea of, and it's why I appreciate Scorsese and his love of comedians and stuff. The idea that you have this iconic movie now with Pesci, De Niro, and Pacino all in it, and you have fucking Ray Romano and Jim Norton and Sebastian Maniscalco in the cast.
Sebastian has like a big role.
Yeah, Joey Gallo, right?
Yeah, like that's in terms of like mob lore, he's one of the bigger parts of it.
And Ray's roles, I was surprised when I heard Ray Romano was in the movie. I was surprised how much he was in the film.
He was in it a lot. He was Russell Buffalino's cousin, who was the mob lawyer.
That's right. The other, what I was mentioning before when I wanted to talk about his more dramatic work, before The Irishman came out, like 2017, I think, 2016 maybe. The Big Sick. Have you ever seen that? Kumail Nanjiani's movie?
No, I meant to.
It's I recommend it to anyone. It's very funny. It's Kumail's movie about how he met his wife, and they basically just hooked up a couple of times, and he happened to be with her when she gets very sick, and so he feels obligated to be around, and he ends up meeting the family. She slips into a coma, and he gets very close with the family. The guy that plays her dad in that movie is Ray Romano, and he's true to Ray. He's like kind of a nebbishy, nervous sort of character, and he's funny, and his interactions with Kumail are awkward and weird. But there's a scene in that movie where he kind of the father snaps, kind of like, and his daughter's sick and he doesn't know what's wrong, and he kind of everything just comes pouring out of him and he loses it. And I remember watching that scene and I was like, holy shit, Ray Romano can act. Yeah. And it was like that one scene where I was like, oh, I want to see like more drama from him, which I did eventually, which we'll talk about. So I remember appreciating that in particular. The Big Sick. Go check it out if you haven't. It's a very good, like romantic comedy, dramedy type of movie.
This is a little bit of a stand-up.
Okay, yeah. So this is where I like fell in love with Ray, because I always loved the show, and then I saw he had a Netflix special, and I was kind of like, I don't want this to ruin my image of Ray, but like I think it's a good. It's not going to blow your socks off. I think it's a perfect representation of what his stand-up is. It's called Right Here Around the Corner, I believe, and he does it at the Comedy Cellar and the Village Underground. So the first half is a set at the Comedy Cellar, and then he goes upstairs, downstairs, I don't know what it is, but to the Village Underground around the corner. And he talks about, he has an apartment in New York. I don't know where he's based out of, LA, I assume, maybe. But he has an apartment in New York. He says it's an 11-minute walk from the Comedy Cellar. And he just stops in and does sets. And I've heard comics talk about this all the time, where they say, you know who the best is at being a celebrity that shows up at the Comedy Cellar? And what they mean by that is like, Chris Rock will show up and just bump everyone and do an hour. It just kind of ruins everyone else on the lineup's night, Ray Romano shows up and he says, hey, who's on next? And they tell him, and he goes over and introduces himself to him, and he says, hey, I'd like to get up if you wouldn't mind. Or they say sometimes he goes in and he waits till the end to go up. Like, he's very respectful of younger comics, which is another thing I've always appreciated about him. And I was looking for, I've heard a bunch of conversations like Morrill and Norman and guys like that give him props for that. And I was looking for that, a story like that. I couldn't necessarily find it, but one I did find was Noah Garden Schwartz, a younger comic, telling a story about how people put their names on the super famous comics, Rock, Seinfeld, Ray, like the huge names that pop into the Comedy Cellar. If they call in for a spot, they put an alias on the list. So that way people aren't like, oh my God, Seinfeld's coming in tonight. And they tell everyone they know, and they all show up in hopes to get FaceTime with Seinfeld, So they all use like a wacky name. And sometimes it's like purposely ridiculous. And so Ray Romano walks in and he sees the lineup and he laughs and says out loud, who's Noah Garden Schwartz? Like thinking it's a cartoonish name. Like it's so ridiculously Jewish that it has to be a fake name. And Noah Garden Schwartz happened to be standing there and he sticks his hand out and he goes, Noah Garden Schwartz. Noah goes, he thought I was a Jewish cartoon character, but there I was.
That's hilarious.
It was very funny. But yeah, this is a little taste of his stand-up that I enjoyed very much on Netflix if you haven't checked it out.
I killed a spider. I know, hear me out. I know we all do it. But here's why. It was in my shower, a big spider. Here's why I feel guilty. I didn't have to kill him, but he saw me masturbating. I think men know the dilemma here. No witnesses, nobody. It's a spider. He's not going to say anything. Why take the chance? Why really? And here's why I feel bad. I killed him, and then I told you anyway. I told you anyway. He died in vain.
He's just very funny to me, very relaxed, relatable. It doesn't feel like a celebrity doing stand-up. Like, it feels like a real, authentic stand-up set. So I always liked that set. Worth a shot if you're interested in watching Ray's comedy. And like I said, he also is able to be a guy that is incredibly wealthy and that we all know is incredibly wealthy, and play with that in a way where he doesn't come off as a douchebag. He doesn't come off as pandering. I forget what the full joke even is, but like the setup where he's he says, if you ever get a show, and you will, everyone gets one. just that setup was very funny to me. Like, he's just very casually like, I'm better than you, but I'm having some fun with it,
I like that. Next, we have friend of the show, Jeff D. Lowe, Somewhere in Queens.
Friend of the show, yes. If you want to see Jeff D. Lowe's episode, go watch our episode of Saturday Night, the Saturday Night Live movie, also with Kirk Minahan. But yeah, Jeff interviewed him when he was out promoting Somewhere in Queens, a movie I fucking love. And it's another story that he taps into, that family element, the relationship with his father. He says it's largely based on like his wife's family, where they're like Italian immigrants and they have, Sunday dinner every week. He said that when he and his wife started dating, they both still lived at home. And so he called his wife's house, which was also his wife's parents' house, and the mother answered, and she has kind of broken English. And he says, this is going to sound like a lie. It's going to sound like I'm trying to get you to believe how Italian they are, but this is 100% true. He says, hi, is Anna there? And she says, no, she's not here right now. And he says, okay, I'll try back later. And the mother goes, are you hungry? Which is just a very Italian thing. Like, she's going to invite him over for dinner. She doesn't even know who the fuck this is, but she's like, I'm making meatballs. Come on over. But yeah, this is Somewhere in Queens, which is I had to buy it on YouTube to rewatch it. I swear I watched it on Netflix a couple of years ago, or maybe Hulu, but it was not on there when I checked. So I had to buy it on YouTube Movies. But if you can find it out there, I think it's on Amazon for free, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, not for, if you have an Amazon subscription, whatever. But check it out if you can, because I loved this movie. I think Ray, it fit Ray perfectly. And again, he's able to talk about family and a lot of the same stuff he talks about and touches on in Everybody Loves Raymond, but in such a different way, which I think is impressive to kind of keep that, like, what people love about him, but do it in a totally different fashion. So this is him talking about directing that movie, his first time directing.
I didn't want to direct it. I when I wrote it, first of all, it took years to write. I'm embarrassed to say it took a long time to write it, because we gave it up. We came back, gave it up. And after about 5-6 years, we finally had a script ready to go. And I started looking for a director, and my agent just he suggested it. Why don't you direct it? And I said, no way. I never directed anything. And he said, it's too personal a story. Why give it to somebody else? And I said, because I don't know. Can I curse?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know shit about.
Can I just pause? We don't usually do this on this show. I like that Jeff's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're bad boys.
Oh, we curse plenty, Ray. Fuck yeah, Ray.
This goes clit.
Sorry, continue.
Anything. He says, you find a cinematographer, that's good, and you collaborate with, and you can handle the story and what you want on screen. And he really had to convince me, because I didn't jump in. It was later on, about another month or two later, where I said, maybe I should do it. And I did it. And it was scary, very scary. Mm-hmm. I mean, leading up to it, I was stressed out of my head. I mean, I had to go for stress tests, my chest pains, everything. I'm not kidding. I had to go to.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
In week 1, I had to go of prep. When we went to prep it, it takes 9 weeks to prep. Uh-huh. And week 1, I had to go to my cardiologist, and he said, It's all anxiety.
That's what has me and probably a lot of other people like relate to Ray so much is that, you know, nervous, anxious, insecure character. And what I love about him is he doesn't necessarily have to wear it on his sleeve. Like Woody Allen, that was his brand. I don't know that you necessarily associate Ray with like nebbishy, but if you think about it for 5 seconds, you're like, oh yeah, that is what he kind of is. You know what I mean? Like it's what he's representing it, but he's not beating you over the head with it necessarily. So yeah,
example is the King of Queens. The first episode he appears in when they go to the country club and it's raining, and he's just like, "Nope, we're golfing." Is his whole the way he acts throughout the country club? I'm just like, yeah, that's perfect example.
He you know what he's great at in that show, because there's times where he almost comes off like cool, like you kind of want to be the dad that Ray is, but like if you the phrase America's dad. I personally, I'm sure everyone has their own. Craig's is Cosby for his offset work. mine is Ray Romano. Like I associate him because he's a bad dad in that show, which I relate to. Don't worry about why. But
mine was Red Foreman.
Red Foreman is another great one. I love Red Foreman. But like for my personal like where I'm coming from, I relate to Ray. He was a bad dad. He's also the dad like you fear being, but also you could tell he wanted to be a good dad. He didn't like that he was like that necessarily. And he played that all very well. And like I said, it comes from a real place. So it's why you were able to relate to Ray in a lot of these roles. And he talked about writing more movies like this, which I hope he does. Like if you watch Somewhere in Queens, very, very indie. Like you can tell it's an independent movie. Laurie Metcalf is great in it. Sebastian Maniscalco is in it, who we mentioned a couple times. A good solid cast, and I think very well done. I like it a lot. So check that out, and I hope Ray keeps doing more stuff like that because, like I said, what that sitcom did was buy him the ability to do whatever he wanted for the rest of his life, essentially. Although I think he is a bit of a compulsive gambler, so hopefully he doesn't blow all his money. But
there it is. What's wrong with him? We figured it out.
That's why he's a comedian. Yeah, why is he a comedian? Terrible gambler, gambling addict. But he does say he said this in a few different interviews that his wife would get mad. Like they'd talk about the other thing too that we didn't mention about his stand-up. He's not clean, but he's like clean adjacent.
He's kind of like Gaffigan-ish.
But he curses a little more than Gaffigan. But I just thought of this because I was like, Nate Bargatze as a comedian, very similar to Ray, where it's like this kind of bitching about his wife and his family, but not in a way, like you can tell he doesn't hate them. You can tell he's like venting to you, where he's like, I know I'm wrong about this, but don't you think they should have cut me a little slack? You know, like that's very Nate and very Ray Romano as well. But like Ray is this guy who wasn't necessarily clean, but like very family friendly. And he told this joke in a couple interviews, like I said, where his wife would get mad at him when she saw different storylines, and she'd be like, that's not how that happened, or you misrepresented me or whatever. And he would say, go cry into your bag of money.
Perfect response.
Exactly. Yeah. So we will close. This is the last clip, right?
Yeah, we got a couple of comedians with gambling problems.
I can only imagine what they were talking about off camera.
I know.
Just swapping the amounts they've lost. The great Norm Macdonald, of course. Ray Romano was a guest on the greatest talk show of all time, Norm Macdonald Live. And this is a little taste of that when they were reading jokes at the end of the show. And also, Ray tells a fun story about Letterman, which the odds that he chose this story are kind of crazy when you see how it unfolds.
Vegas is now home to a 550-foot tall Ferris wheel. Also drawing thousands to Las Vegas, whores. That's you. That's your voice all the way right there. That's the Norm Macdonald lean in, whores. No.
I like that he noticed that because that is so clearly, that's a Weekend Update joke all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Whores.
Numbers. The top 10.
That's right.
Top 10.
I go back a little bit. We stepped in the setup.
Horse.
No.
Remember Letterman's top 10 numbers? The
No,
top 10.
that's right.
Top 10 numbers from 1 to 10.
1 to 10. Oh
yeah,
my God,
and that's
awesome.
all it was like number 10.
That's
8.
great.
And then
You remember
there
that,
was a big
Steve?
applause, yeah.
It was actually an emergency list.
And it killed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because there was a surprise ending, because there was a tie. 3.5.
What a great twist. That's
He had
awesome.
written a list about an airplane crash, the pilot excuses. And Letterman said, maybe this is a bad idea.
Yes.
It's a crash.
Yes.
And so we had a minute. I said, how about numbers from 1 to 10?
Yeah.
So he was actually reading it cold.
Oh, so you wait a minute. I just quoted something that you wrote?
Yeah.
That is great. Yeah.
What are the odds of that?
Crazy.
One of Norm's producers worked for Letterman. That makes sense. There were plenty of Letterman ties with Norm. But just the idea that guy that came up with this segment that Ray randomly thought of on the show was working on Norm Macdonald Live.
Yeah, this brilliant Letterman idea. He's like, well.
That is hilarious, by the way. The top 10 numbers between 1 and 10.
Number 10, 8.
That's perfect Letterman. Not to get off on a Letterman tangent, but like if you were asking what was David Letterman's talk show like? Well, like one night he did the top 10 numbers between 1 and 10. There was a tie at the end.
You're like, that just sounds lazy.
It kind of defines his show, yeah. But yeah, shout out to Ray Romano, an all-time great, a quiet legend, an unsung hero. Like I really think, like I said, made a ton of money. Funny cameo and Funny People, by the way.
Yes.
Eminem yells at him. Do you want to fuck me, Ray? No, Marshall. But yeah, like just an underappreciated guy. I love Ray's demeanor, and he just seems like an awesome guy. And I don't know if you can think of anyone like him, you know?
Does he remind you of anyone we know?
He just seems like a cool guy.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah, but shout out to Ray Romano. Go watch the stuff I just said. If you haven't seen Somewhere in Queens or Right Here Around the Corner, go check those out. A little Ray appreciation, you know? Better than Seinfeld. That's the final message of this episode.
Why are we laughing? Ray Romano.
Damn straight. All right, guys. Support the show, blindmike.net. We appreciate you guys doing that. All our links are there, wherever you get podcasts. Video now on Spotify, video on YouTube, audio anywhere else, pretty much. So go check that out. If you support the show, engage with it, helps more people find us. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And if you want to subscribe and become a member, then you can do that and get early access and bonus content. We appreciate you guys doing all that. Blindmike.net is the easiest place to find all those links. And go to verygoodshow.org.
Sure.
Well, if you have something else, I'll promote it. But until then, I'm going to keep saying verygoodshow.org.
If you're real curious about me, go to blindmike.net and scroll to the bottom.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Follow Craig on Twitter. Go to blindmike.net to find Craig's great tweets.
Yeah.
I was looking for his Super Bowl tweets, and I was disappointed there weren't any.
I tweeted out how much I loved the halftime show, hoping Jerry would bite, and he didn't.
Damn. All right, gang. We will talk to you next time on Why Are You Laughing?
Zip it up and zip it out.